Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new chapter of Shingeki no Kyojin, or Attack on Titan, on chapter 107. Now, I know this chapter came out possibly 2 days ago or yesterday night, etc., midnight, but kind of gotten a little tired and lazy to even do it due to the fact that I had other things to do. But aside from that, let's just get this started. We have to it that Hange visits Eren and wants to talk to him, apparently, and what he's been saying in the mirror, etc. And we have to it that Hange was trying to talk to Eren about this, and later on Eren's like, what the hell are you here? What the hell did you come here to do? And Hange is like, what else? I'm here to talk to you. When we first met, we talked about Titans all night long. All my born Tark, you heard me out. I was certain that there was no need for you to sacrifice Historia. This is where it happens 2 years ago. And this is 2 years ago in the past of what Hange is talking about. We have to it that Yelena ends up saying, hey, you haven't greeted us like this since we first arrived. It's nice to see you. And Levi says, you can't still see Eren, okay? Seeing his face is the closest you'll get, etc. Or meet up with him. So we have to it that the port has been completed for the first time and you'll meet someone, blah, blah, blah. And we have to it that the nation that will become our one and only ally is the nation of Hizuru. Looks like to me it's from Japan continent, I guess you could say. And we have too that the ambassador is visiting Paradise Island, and her name is Kiyomi Azumabito or something. And she's unprecedentedly has strong ties with foreign countries and so far has high influence over her nation's foreign affairs and is the head of her family. We have to it that that Mikasa looks at her face and realizes that she looks like it. Looks like her face's mother. And we have to it that Yelena explains to Mikasa that she is related to her bloodline that she's part of. And therefore, we have to it that Kiyomi asks Mikasa, do you know this symbol? And of course, Mikasa says, ends up showing it and says, she wants to keep this as a secret. But Eren's like, hey, didn't you show it to me when we were kids? I mean, surely that secret was meant for a day for like this. And Mikasa decides to show the symbol and says, she was told to entrust this to her own children. And we have to it that, even Kiyomi, I think that's her name. Kiyomi? Yeah, Kiyomi. Kiyomi, the ambassador from a nation of Hizuru, was actually surprised and says, you are healthy and admirable, you know? Let me tell you something. And we have to it that Kiyomi says 100 years ago, Hizaru's nation was an ally with the Eldian Empire and an ancestor of the Azumabito clan, who was the son of the shogun in our country, built a friendly, intimate relationship with Fritz's royal family, so we were allowed to stay on this island. And we had to it that Kiyomi explained, after King Fritz moved to this island, Hizuru was in the traitorous nation and our reception didn't improve during the ensuing chaos, but some of our people even left the island. But 100 years ago or later, I've met you who shares the same blood as our clan on this island. You are Hizuru's hope, the fruit of our lost citizens, as Kiyomi explains. If the story is true as they ask, what position does Mikasa have in this significance? You know, isn't she the survivor of a top bloodline of the world? And we have to it that one of them says, I don't even know this world very well yet. But whatever the case may be, they want to take this opportunity and find out what the enemy would want. And we have to it that one of our commanders of Paradise Island ends up saying, we're nothing but pileless babies. Beyond the ocean, we don't even have the weapons to fight these guys. And we can't make any more of our guests embarrassed right now. And we had to it that this person, I don't know, I don't know, but she ends up asking Mikasa, have you shown the sign to Eren? You've never shown it to anyone before. And we have to it that Mikasa has some kind of relation to the Hizuru continent. But aside from that, we have to it that Kiyomi explains, we are very thankful for you for this perfect condition. But remember this, the people of Hizuru will always be waiting for you. This has been a historic day for both our sides, and the only reason we could ever meet is someone who helped us to do so. And Kiyomi explains, after we received the information there's an heir to the Shogun bloodline, we held a secret meeting with the man who gave us the information, and that's Zeke Yeager. And we go into the past where Kiyomi explains to Zeke, where Kiyomi tells everyone what the Zeke information is right now. And we had to it that Zeke explains to Kiyomi, and this is the scene where Zeke and Kiyomi met. So we have to it that Zeke explains that he has royal blood of the Ritz family, and I did my duty as a war chief all without telling this to the Marleyan army. And we had to it that Kiyomi asked him, like, why would you, the one loyal to Marley, do that? And Zeke explains, because I have been a member of the Eldian Restorationists. It has been my father's duty ever since I was born. They go like, are you serious? And Zeke explains, yes. I'll let you know I sold up my parents to Marley. And we have to it that Zeke explains possibly why. I've been trying to understand the scene as best I can, but aside from that, let me continue off. Zeke explains when he was 7 years old, he had realized that the Marley Titan Biology Research Society has come within a nose's length to finding the restoration my father is leading. So we have to it that Zeke explained, like, if it kept going this way, it would be the Paradisian borderline for my parents. The restoration, of course, my grandfather, my grandmother, and me was guaranteed. So from there, the actions I undertook were aware of what I had said. My parents were right, however. The restoration of the great Eldian Empire was not something that could have been achieved by this laughable group of idiots. Even after selling out my parents and earning a high status Marley, I still killed Eldians and devastated Paradise Island, the very one I had to save. The plan for restoring Eldia was to succeed as long as Marley continues with the recovering the founding Titan plan. This was because Marley did not know I had royal blood. Marley, or no one for that matter, knows what happened when a Titan with royal blood and the founding Titan come together. Not your nation either, but at least not for now. And Kiyomi, on the other hand, says, as you had thought, we want in on this. However, if the revival of the Eldian Empire would threaten the world, we cannot agree, or threaten the world possibly. We have too that Kiyomi says, depending on the situation, we'll confess this folly to Marley. This is very regrettable, but the result would be the same even if we all die right here. And Zeke explains, of course, Miss Kiyomi, if this doesn't affect not only Azubenbitos but Hizuru, then it will not be done. Please have a look at this. And Zeke pulls out something that seems to be very important. He explains like he had thought this was Molly's confidential matter, but you know about this. The dimensional maneuvering gear is Paradise's invention, which is something that that Zeke explains, like something that this dimensional gear that allows him to fight or something. Not to mention, he says, I will give you this. However, to move the mechanisms, you need special mineral. They call it an iceberg stone. And I go like, what's an iceberg stone? What the hell? And we have to it that like this is an unknown underground resource that is found only exclusive to Paradise, but the existence of it has been rumored for a while, as Zeke explained. The founding Titan, the first king, dug a giant hole in Paradise and put in flaming stones or shining stones in a reserve. It's a little, but the traces of this iceberg stone will remain in this container. Zeke also explains that the people of Paradise Island have no reason to violate this underground reserve. This information will connect Hizuru and Paradise Island together. And Kiyomi finishes her conversation with Zeke by saying that man suggested that if I helped him come here, then the submissive nation would turn into a great country with prospering industries. Kiyomi also explained like we have not even researched those reserves, but if that is the truth, the resources with values that are just like gold sleep inside this modernization area, the conglomerates of Hizuru will profit from this or something. Whoops, I made a scene. And when I look at Kiyomi right now, she seems to be very greedy because of these iceberg stones whatsoever. Like, they're like equal to gold as she explains it. Eventually, after she stopped drilling or something, we have to it that they go, did this Aqua Lady only just use me or something? Yelena did say that the Azumas smell money quite well, and so the bargaining would be quite easy. Of course they wouldn't come to this island and take some risk if they didn't benefit. And we have to the Historia ask her, like, so what is the plan that Zeke Yeager has been talking about? Kiyomi explains, like, as you know, Zeke Yeager claims that he has a secret up his sleeve. He says that the Hizuru nation is crucial to his secret to saving the Eldians and the rest of the world. And he therefore says, like, that's one of the 3 courses of action to be able to protect this island by flattening the earth, which is highly unlikely to do. You don't want to, like, do an extermination to kill all countries or freaking continents. That's damn stupid. Unless that's if you're trying to take everyone down with you. But aside from that, we have to it that Kiyomi explained that the first course is to experiment and show the rest of the world the destructive power of even a fraction of its rumbling. The second is the involvement of Hizuru. The aim is to empower this nation's military to the point where it caught up with the rest of the world. In this, of course, the flattening of Earth is not necessary. It is not difficult to employ the latest weaponry, but to have a modernized military power requires building a strong foundation of national power. Kiyomi also explained that this is approximately 100 years behind the rest of the world. It will not take 100 years to bridge that gap, but it will take at least 50 years to do so. So it looks like to me they're trying to make the entire world to understand that we caught up with the technological process. But aside from that, we have to it that Kiyomi explains that, in other words, in order to protect this island, you will still need the option of flattening the Earth. The third option is the continued possession of the founding Titan. And a Titan of royal blood for Zeke, the successor of the Beast Titan, will need to be one possessing royal blood whatsoever. And before the 13 years are up for the one with royal blood, you will need to raise more to take their place. So, in overall, Kiyomi explains like we need to flatten the Earth, and we need someone who could take the founding Titan, the Titan. We need a Titan of royal blood to succeed the Beast Titan. And before the 13 years are up, the one with the royal blood, you need to raise more in their place. So in other cases, you need to raise children or make children to take the founding Titan or something, or whatever the Beast Titan whatsoever before the 13 years are up. That's pretty much the summary of what Kiyomi that's part of the Zeke's plan whatsoever. But Hanji remembers, but not to mention, it's gonna take 50 years to try to catch up. 50 years to catch up, and that's using the continent countries of Hizuru that Kiyomi is an ambassador of to bridge the gap. But Hanji is thinking in her mind, 50 years will 50 years be enough? Even if other weapons are developed, flattening the Earth is a powerful weapon to have. If we can't give that up, the inheritors will continue to be exposed to the risk of assassination, and the inheritance of the Titans will carry on for generations and generations. And it's like every 13 years, you need a child or an offspring with royal blood to take the Titan power. And guess what? We remember that the Fritz family has been doing that a lot. Let's not forget that. And just like the Reyes family from parent to child, how many times did it happen? Reese's family, not Fritz's family. What the hell am I saying? Forgive me, I'm being stupid right now. Aside from that, Hans is thinking in her mind, in order for us to survive, it's okay for us to pass the burden of this unforgivable problem to our queen? Surely not. There's no way this could be forgiven. So, yeah, having to have an offspring devour another whose 13 years will be up or something is gonna be ugly, because you're giving them a very ugly burden like what the Reese family did. And of course, Historia accepted. She says I will accept the inheritance of the Beast Titan as long as it ensures our survival. And this is gonna be taking 50 years. 13 years each time for someone to inherit the Beast Titan. So 1, 2, 3, almost 3 times, that's 39 years right there. Plus another 10, and then one more, so 11 years or something. Yeah. 3 children and somewhat close to a half or something. Of course, Eren was against his idea. He says, if our survival depends on being forced to breed like livestock and dying in the process, even after having been violated after destruction of the worlds, then I can't accept Zeke Yeager's plan. Eren, therefore, is just saying, in other words, this idea of making a child, making them inherit this Beast Titan whatsoever, I can't accept that, dude. That's crazy. It's, as Eren explains it, it's dangerous for us to leave our fate to ensuring that the rumbling stays available to us. Wouldn't the best plan to be consider all available options to us in the time when we have left, as Eren explains it? Even historians seem to understand that, but Kiyomi says, yes, now is not the time to rush to conclusions or decisions. We will continue to act as mediators with Zeke Yeager as best as we can. And as Hanj explains it, we still haven't found another option. This goes back into present time of like where Hanj explains to Eren that they don't have another option. So pretty much there was a meeting like in this chapter where it involves Mikasa about this like Hizuru legacy whatsoever that she's gonna be having, you know. Aside from that, let me also explain that the plan that Zeke Yeager has is to have someone to inherit the Beast Titan, and every 13 years a child or someone of age has to take it. I'm thinking in my mind, this is pretty much this is like doing another burden of like sacrificing your children, dude. Seriously. I mean, aside from that, let's go back. Let me continue off anyway. Hanj explains to Eren that they could not find another option. The end of Zeke's tenure is fast approaching. Like, Zeke is about to die. We all know that because of Ymia's curse. Anyone who inherits the power of the Titans will die in 13 years. And of course, Marley will attack Paradise Island earlier than planned, etc. And they thought they had the same feeling, same level of anxiety as you. But we have to it that Hans explains like, but I don't understand why you have exposed this island to danger by acting alone. Do you no longer care what happens to Historia? And Eren dodges the question and says, I ate the Warhammer Titan. And Hans is like, what are you talking about? This Titan's ability is to freely create things from the ground form things from the ground through its hardening ability. It was a tiring opponent, as Eren explains it. He also says, so there's no use keeping me confined deep underground. I can get out of here whatever I want. As Hans explains, of course you can. But we have to that Eren's like, so there's no way you'd be able to kill me since I possess the Founding Titan. No matter how much you threaten to, you can't kill Zeke Yeager either. And Eren asks Hanj behind bars and says, so Hanj, what can you do? Tell me, is there another way or not? And freaking Hanj slapped away his hand and says, stop being a pervert, alright? Are you still going through a rebellious phase, you idiot? And Hanj exits the door and goes like, Eren, this is the only mistake you made. Why did you have to make a person like me the commander? And we have to it that we go to a cemetery where Mikasa is at, and we have to it that someone is actually beating up a Marley citizen by saying, this is a cemetery for Eldians, the people you have killed. What the hell are you doing here? And John tells him off, hey, easy. We'll take care of this guy, alright? And this guy is Niccolo. Niccolo asks him, like, is Sasha really dead? Like, what did you guys do? What happened? And we have to it that they explain by saying she was shot by a girl who made it onto the blimp. And Niccolo was really saddened about this. And we have to it that they explain that this kid was actually trained like a warrior cadet. And John says, I'm the one at fault, you know? I was being careless. But Niccolo's like, why are you apologizing to me? All I did was prep up the meals, you know? And Connie explains, like, thank you for feeding her lots of delicious food, Niccolo. I mean, Niccolo even asks, like, how you doing, Connie? And Connie explains, like, Sasha and I were, like, practically twins, you know? It feels like half of me just disappeared. And we have to it that Sasha's father says, like, my daughter was indebted to you, you know? And they mourn for the loss of their daughter who died at the Marleyan battle, etc. Niccolo says, like, I'm just a Marleyan prisoner of war, but I was put to work as a cook, you know? Your daughter ate my meals so well more than anything, so if you don't mind, let me cook for you sometime, you know? So, despite Niccolo being a prisoner of war of Marley, etc., he still wants to help Sasha's family out. But aside from that, we have to it that we go to another scene where that Yelena and her comrades end up delivering some Titan serums stolen from Marley. Since we couldn't steal away the reports or knowledge of the Titans, it will be hard to replicate them since we couldn't steal away the reports or knowledge of the Titan scientists, etc. And we have to it that Commander Pixies, or whatever his name is, says, "No, this is enough. We can never thank you, but we are very indebted to you, and you have guided us with hope. We." And Yelena says, like, "I thought we had demonstrated our friendliness towards you these past 3 years. It's a shame. These guns we brought with us are guns that bring freedom to Eldians. You guys realize that, right?" And they all point the guns to Yelena and her comrades. And Pixie's like, "Hey, apologize for our rudeness, but we can't just turn a blind eye to our weakness for now, alright? There's no way we can't just keep Zeke imprisoned either." And Yelena explained, like, "It's fine. For there will be a day when we dine around the same table." And Pixies explains, like, "Well, the ones who await that day are us. You do realize that, right?" And Zeke ends up having a hotel, which is the forest. And Levi's like, "You got any complaints? There's no suitable place for you than this, you know? This is a forest of giant trees up to 80 meters or something. There's no easy way to get out of your own room. Had no decent rocks around either. You won't be satisfied by throwing anything around here." And Zeke is like, "You could get around here using the 3-dimensional gear, can you? But even that you will only find here in the whole world." And we had two that Levi asked, like, "I want to show this majestic nature to Gabby and Falco. What do you think?" And Levi's like, "You still care about these kids, don't you?" Which is Falco and Gabby. "Whether or not those kids get to see the majestic scene of this nature depends on your actions," as Levi explains. And we see a scene where Gabby's like playing fake injuries whatsoever, and the guard opens up, and Gabby takes advantage of this and hits him with the hidden brick she has in her figure and knocks him out. And of course she took a brick from a wall and ends up pushing him under the bed. And we see to it that, like, Falco's like, what the hell are you trying to do? We escape from here, and then what? And we have to it that Gabby's like, if we stay, aren't we gonna get ripped apart? And Falco's like, "These people cared about you. How can you treat them that bad?" And Gabby's like, "Why do you believe those devils? I can't even trust Zeke anymore, or even anyone else." And therefore, it switches to a scene with Reiner having a strange dream and wakes up. And we have to it that Porco asks him, "Did you have a bad dream or something? It would be better if this was all a dream at all," etc. And Reiner explains, like, "I just heard voices of Gabby and Falco. Where are they right now?" And we see to it that we see a scene with Historia looking from the distance of a sunset, and someone, like, keeping an eye on Historia, and says, "You have to be more careful with your body." And it looks like to me Historia's pregnant with her baby. So yeah. So the message also ends up with the tragedy that has always been undertaken since birth is starting to count its seconds towards a chain reaction. So yeah, pretty much, like, this chapter right here is Hanj and Eren talking about this incident 2 years ago involving Mikasa having some kind of relation to a bloodline of, like, a symbol that involves, like, something about Hizuru Nation or something. Like, they were allies of the Eldians, but aside from that, yeah, just a little small scene with Mikasa being Hizuru's hope as the fruit of lost citizens. But aside from that, we have to it that Kiyomi, who is the ambassador of, like, of Hizuru, explains to everyone that there's a plan involved, you know, having Zeke to, like, find a way how to free the Eldians in other cases, and having to sell out his parents, etc. And of course, like, something involving, like, whatchamacallit, this thing called, like, iceberg stone, which is a very valuable resource, and that's when Kiyomi has her drooling over it, which I go like, "Are you okay, woman?" But aside from that, one of Zeke Yeager's plans in other cases, without giving a lot of detail, is to have someone, like, inherit his beast titan power, which will involve, like, some kind of, like, heavy burden for a certain family. Like, in case if things get really bad in the 50 years for you to catch up, even with Hizuru Nation's resources, etc., you will need 50 years to do this thing, and the optioning of flattening the earth is supposed to be there should things should get a little dangerous. But the third option is to continue possession of the Fountain Titan whatsoever, and a Titan of royal blood. For the success of the Beast Titan will need to be possessing royal blood, and that's where Historia comes in. And this is where it gets a little heavy right now, because we all know Reese's family has been like sacrificing the children every 13 years to inherit a Titan power. And that became very, very dangerous. We all know that. But aside from that, we have to that Historia accepts the terms while Eren is against this, because we all know how heavy this thing is. Like, you made a child to, because we all know when you make children, you want them to succeed you and make the community better. But this time they're making children to like be weapons of war, which is more tragic than usual. But aside from that, we have to it that there was no other option, and Historia decided to take on this burden, which Eren does not like. Aside from that, it looks like to me that the Eldians of Paradise Island got some Titan serums, but that may not be enough. And as for Gabby and Falco, they escaped thanks to Gabby's trick whatsoever, you know? But aside from that, she's trying to escape, and Reiner ends up waking up from a strange dream about Gabby and Falco. And as for Historia, she's pregnant with her baby, and it's going to be very, very dangerous. So overall, in simple words, again, without a lot of detail, is that Hans and Eren are talking to each other about what happened 2 years ago, along like what's the plan for Zeke Yeager to do, you know? And that involves like either flattening the earth and then a continuation of the Founding Titan and the Beast Titan with royal blood, etc. And Historia decided to take on that burden of making children and having them to be sacrificed in war. Pretty dangerous and very heavy burden of tragedy, etc. And of course, like Gabby and Falco escapes, and Reiner wakes up from a strange dream with Porco and what's her name again? That quadruple Titan user at his side. And Historia being pregnant with her baby at the end of the chapter. So, I really don't know what's really bound to happen, but one thing for sure is like, for Paradise Island to catch up with the entire world in general, they need at least 50 years to do so, which is gonna be hectic, because if you're gonna try to catch up with the world in Paradise Island and try to catch up with technological process in the entire world, you're going to need children to inherit the other Titan powers, which is going to be very, very heavy burden and tragic, because you're making children of war, which they will all die in a couple years once they inherit a certain Titan power. So I do not know what's really going to happen next, but it's not going to be very pretty, that's for sure. Not to mention that Marley still has the Armor Titan, the Quadruple Titan, and the Jaw Titan. Those three could still pose a threat despite Eren and the others having their own Titan powers, but we'll have to see for how this is going to be. But the burden of making children and giving them the Titan power, which would die in 13 years, and making another making a successor, continuing that for about until 50 years of progress of technological advancement, is going to be very heavy. So yeah, aside from that, it's going to be too intense and tragic. So until then, I will see you guys in my next video. So I'm Alpha Zero, people. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time, right? Peace out. Bye-bye. Toot-toot-toot!